mission of FSU Coach is to prepare and equip the next generation of coaches and sports professionals with best practices and current research to enable them to pursue excellence. We have 2 academic programs, the online graduate certificate, which is 4 classes, and also a 10-class master's in athletic coaching. Our graduate certificate and master's program can be started at any time, either the summer, fall, or spring.
The types of classes that we offer focus on the athlete as a whole person. We focus on the theory and practice, the research, the helping skills. I came to FSU Coach because I truly believed in the mission and the purpose of the program.
I think I have my dream job being a head coach at Florida State, but I know there's always more ways that I can help my athletes and better prepare as a coach. If you're interested in going into coaching or joining the FSU Coach program, I would just say don't even think about it and do it.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to FSU Coach Live, and my guest today is Vanessa Fuchs. Vanessa, you were on my show. You were one of the first guests ever on my show back in 2020, so it's great to have you on the show again. Here we are 5 years later, and a lot has changed for you. So fill us in. Tell us a little bit about your background and then what you're doing now.
Well, it is wonderful to be back, Tim. Thank you for having me. And yes, a lot has changed over the last 5 years. So it's great to reconnect with you. And again, thank you for the work that you do to impact the students that you lead there at Florida State. For the last 3 years, I've been leading WeCOACH. We're the largest nonprofit in the U.S. supporting women coaches across all sports and all levels of sport. And prior to that, I spent 12 years in administration at my beloved alma mater, Florida State. And so have loved every minute of the growth and transformation that we've experienced with WeCOACH, but certainly always enjoy the opportunity to reconnect with fellow Seminoles. And so looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
I want to get into women in coaching in a little bit, but I'm curious. You were an athletic director here at FSU, and I'm curious how it's different as an athletic director to being somebody who is in a leadership role, surely in a sports organization. And I don't think stating it's a sports organization is that important. It's the fact that you're a leader in a different organization outside of sports. As an athletic director, there's a lot of concern, I think, among coaches that athletic directors are not necessarily people coming through sports. They tend to be more business people coming through marketing, coming through the finance, etc. What's been your experience of being an athletic director and now being in a leadership role in an organization where it doesn't really matter if you're an athletic director?
Yeah, a lot of my time, as you know, was spent throughout my career in collegiate athletics. I think that's helped me significantly in this role with WeCOACH, just the network and the connections that I was able to make, both during my time working at the ACC, then at the NCAA, and then back at my alma mater, Florida State. Those connections, those relationships with different sport leaders around the country has really helped in generating growth for WeCOACH, bringing them on now as members of our organization. We are a membership-based organization, but what's been really exciting in my role now as a nonprofit leader is some of the new skills. So still the opportunity to impact people and the coaches and administrators in our community. But what's really been exciting is some of the new skills that I've been able to generate and maybe a little more focus, although I did have some of this experience along the way in my previous stops, skills and experiences like partnerships and sponsorships, grant writing. So some of the revenue generation that's required to sustain our nonprofit has been some new opportunities for me to learn and grow and further my skill sets as a sport leader. So have really enjoyed that. And I'll just say this, I don't know that I fully appreciated the amount of work that goes into leading a nonprofit. And I'm so proud of the team that I get to work with every day. We always say we're a small but mighty team, and we now are leading 13 different professional growth and leadership development programs for women coaches in an effort to recruit, advance, and retain women in coaching. And we've grown our membership over 1,000% in 3 years. And I can't say enough. I couldn't have done this without the great work from Team WeCOACH. So just very grateful for the staff that I get to work with, our board that we get to work with daily to impact the coaches in our community.
Do you think that athletic directors and even coaches could learn something from what you've learned, in the sense that grant writing, sponsorships, partnerships, those kinds of experiences for athletic directors and coaches, I could see being, wow, there's value in that.
Sure. And I would say more so on the partner and sponsor side. A lot of these athletics departments rely heavily on those dollars. That was a key bucket of revenue, at least when I was at Florida State, that they work very hard at. As far as the grants, I know on campus, certainly grants are a big part of being at research universities. I don't know as much in athletics if we relied as much on grant funding, but certainly for WeCOACH we do, and we're thankful for grant providers that have supported our mission. But there are some parallel experiences, like I said, that have really helped to transfer into my role now with WeCOACH. But there's also some new opportunities that I'm still 3 years in and still learning about as we continue to grow and advance our mission.
If you had any advice for somebody who is interested in finding sponsors, going out and seeing if they can develop a partnership, what would you suggest they do? What are some keys that would help them be more successful?
Yeah, good question. I think first it starts with the relationship, and really not only telling your story very well. So our WeCOACH story, we share the impact that we're making, the programs that we offer in an effort to move the numbers of women in coaching, telling the stories of the data. We know that less than 50% of women are coaching at every level of sport, youth club, middle and high school on up through collegiate. There's less than 50% women coaching. And so how do we continue to move those numbers so that girls and women have women leaders and role models in their lives coaching their teams? But also the opportunity to sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But the opportunity to not only tell your story well, but do as much research as you can on the specific partner that you're interacting with, to know what their goals are, know what they're about, the programs that they're already offering, and then how you can kind of merge and develop a really strong relationship and collaboration with that partner is something that we work very hard at and try to get really creative. We try to avoid maybe the cookie cutter approach. We really try to customize the partnerships that we're working with different brands to generate. And every brand is different in terms of their goals and what they're trying to achieve, and connecting with the women coaches and the student athletes that they lead. And so really doing your research to know and ask some really targeted questions to get more information about that brand will really help in successfully generating additional revenue to support your organization.
Yeah. Now, looking at the landscape of women coaches, what would you say has happened over the last 5-10 years? Are we moving in the right direction? Is this a perennial problem where it's just we're stuck in the same mire? What's the status?
Yeah, the good news is, for a lot of years, we were stagnant. And as the research was tracking trends for women in coaching for many decades, we were stagnant. And for many decades, we're on a drastic decline. We know that at the time Title IX was passed in 1972, we had over 90% women coaching. And today, if you just look at NCAA collegiate athletics alone across divisions 1, 2, and 3, we're at an average of about 41% women. We work with the Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sport, and they're out of the University of Minnesota. And Dr. Nicole Lavoie and her team do a phenomenal job supporting and providing resources that help sport leaders understand what the trends are in terms of the number of women in coaching, but also what supports are necessary to continue to grow those numbers. And the good news is, as we continue to work on year after year, we work with them on a report card that measures some of the hiring trends. And we like to say that we're in a new era of slow and steady incline. And so that's good news for women who want to get into this profession, to know that sport leadership, we're seeing, and particularly this research is done at the collegiate level, but that we're seeing an uptick and higher percentages of increases year over year of women entering into coaching, but certainly into head coaching roles at the collegiate level. And so the trends are going in the right direction. And so we're really excited about this steady increase in the number of women coaches across all sports.
Yeah, I'm really interested. You mentioned assistant coaches. Is there a differentiation between head coaches and assistant coaches? Is it typically male coach is coaching the basketball team and then maybe feels pressured into, well, I should have an assistant coach who's probably female? Or is this a trend where we're seeing more head coaches as female coaches compared to, as I said, 10 years ago?
I think it's a little of both. I think coaches are doing a better job of tapping who's next, and we implore our community as much as we can to encourage these current coaches to look at their rosters, and if they have women on their rosters who can make a really good head coach, help them catch a vision for their careers. And I think men and women coaches, we have got to lean on them to help in this recruitment effort of tapping who's next and really helping students as they are participating in their sport career to catch a vision for coaching as a viable career opportunity for them once they wrap up their playing career. So that's one step, is we're starting to do a better job of building the pipeline. What we try to do through our memberships with WeCOACH, we serve over half of the Division 1, 2, and 3 conferences. And as part of those conference-wide memberships, we're allowing conferences to add to their WeCOACH roster current student athletes who aspire to coach. And that's one of our initiatives to try to get more women into the profession. We also have dedicated programming. We have We Aspire program where we're focused on, and if I'm not mistaken, I think, Tim, you had spoken to our We Aspire program a little while back, but just trying to help women set them on the path for their first coaching job. That starts as student athletes. Them having the opportunity to gain professional development skills and tools that will help them once they enter the interview process for these jobs. And so our We Aspire program does just that. And so we also have a program, you asked about assistant coaches. We have a program called We Elevate, and it's intended to help assistant and associate head coaches who aspire to get into a head coaching role. And so focusing on topics like interviewing and how they make the best first impression once they get on that campus and set out as the new head coach of a program. What are some steps right out of the gates that help them be as successful as possible entering that new community as a head coach? And so our We Elevate program for assistant coaches is one that's really trying to get more women into head coaching roles. The Tucker Center, the research that they do, they talk about opportunities for hiring. If there's a coach who has either departed the institution or retired out of coaching, who might have been a male coach of a women's team, that's an opportunity for sport leaders to really recruit a diverse, qualified pool that includes women and people of color, and then hire who's best into that role. But I think we still have some education and work to do on the hiring process and helping sport leaders, athletics directors, sport administrators, hiring managers with how they effectively exhaust all opportunities to really build that pool when a job opening comes available, and then work through those candidates and the vetting process and in the interview process to hire the best one. But and that's something we try to do too, is talk about some best practices for hiring. But I think it's a combination of both. I think the recruitment efforts are starting to build, but I also think there's more intentionality from sport leaders to really go after and make stronger attempts to build the pool and try to identify women leaders that can lead these teams.
Yeah, great points. There's definitely a challenge to get away from the who do you know and the networking of hiring, as opposed to let's try to go a little bit outside of the box here and bring in some people that we may not know so well, but could have a different look from what
Yeah.
we're currently used to.
Absolutely. And, you look at even the data right now, if you look at the landscape, a lot of the sport leadership at the high school as well as the collegiate level, at every level of sport, we know a majority of the leadership is male. And data tells us, and this isn't, this isn't intentional, but we do have a tendency as humans to hire who looks like us. We know the data says that. And so how do we avoid maybe some of those internal biases and really get intentional about how sport leader mirrors of the student athletes that are participating? I think that's so important, that's a value and something that we strive toward as we go out and hire for different positions in sport, is that we always keep in mind that these young people who are participating, both men and women, deserve to have people who look like them so that they can look up to them and aspire to be them one day.
Mm-hmm. You travel a lot, you visit a lot of places, you talk to a lot of people. I'm curious what you're seeing as maybe current trends in coaching. What are you seeing that's been changing that people need to be aware of, that we need to talk about?
Yeah. The coaching profession has always been a challenging one. I don't think a lot of fans realize that, as coaches, it's a 24/7, 365, 500-mile-an-hour job. And it's hard sometimes you can't really turn it off, if you will. And so how do we offer the best support possible for these people who are leading sport teams as coaches? And that's what we try to offer and pride ourselves on, is a supportive community for women in coaching. Not only the programming, which we offer phenomenal programming throughout the year, but we also offer this incredibly empowering community for our coaches to lean into one another, realize that they're not alone in some of the challenges and issues that they face daily, and to learn from each other. We have remarkable presenters and experts that come and lead different sessions, but we also have been very intentional to set up through our programming opportunities like our WeConnect, where we have different huddles where coaches from the collegiate level can come together and learn from each other. And it's not dedicated or planned programming. It's come, show up, ask questions, share what's going on in your world, and then allow your peers to help support you through it. I don't know that a lot of coaches have that level of support where they're connecting enough with other peer coaches to navigate some of the trying times. And we know this at the collegiate level, especially at every level, it's a challenge, and it's continually evolving. But not only ways to best relate and connect with this generation, but then you have some challenges that are impacting that, like the transfer portal, and now NIL and revenue sharing that's impacting at some levels of sport. It's just all adding up to make it much, much more challenging, because it's not just coaching the X's and O's and trying to figure out how to win the game. It's about keeping your team together, building program culture, communicating effectively with these young people. These are all topics that we focus on throughout our many programs that are so important for coaches to remain in tune with, as it'll help them be that much more successful as a coach over the program that they're leading. Oh, I think you're muted.
Apparently I am. Thank you. You mentioned something in there that I think is worth expanding on, and that is your coaches, excuse me, are coming together from different sports. And a lot of times we see coaches talk to other coaches in their sport at their sports conference or clinic and may not get the cross-pollination of new ideas.
Hmm. And I'm sorry. So just explain that question a little bit more for me.
Yeah, you were talking about how you have programs where coaches can come in and just share and just chat. And it is not, this is specific to basketball. If you're a basketball coach, you're welcome here. But it is, if you are a coach, come in and learn from the football coach and the hockey coach and
Yeah.
the lacrosse coach, and understand that we're all working with people, and we're all working with NIL and transfer portal and parents and whoever it may be. And I think that is something that we often miss when we look at clinics, because the clinics seem to be very sport specific or level specific rather than more generalized. And it's interesting. We've both been to some of the coaching conferences together, and you'll see some of these sessions where it is very sport specific. And if you are not in that sport, you may not be welcome in that group.
Yeah.
I like the idea of what you're doing, which is incorporating a lot of different diversity of sports and levels.
And that's what we hear from our members time and time again, is what makes us so unique. And what I loved about the opportunity to come to WeCOACH is that we do serve all sports and all levels. And there's just something empowering, rich. There's a depth to what we do that coaches have never experienced anything like it, where they're able to get into a room with coaches from different sports. We tend to, if we're a basketball coach, we're hanging out with all the basketball coaches. But with WeCOACH, it's all sports, and not only all sports, but all levels. And so you're learning with coaches from the youth and high school level, college, pro, even some international coaches participate in our programming and are members of WeCOACH. And so you've got even that much more knowledge, experience in the room to share with one another. And so it's so important. It's so important that these coaches are continually remaining connected with our peers, learning with them, sharing their struggles, because I think sometimes coaches don't realize they're not the only ones. They may be the only female in their department as a head coach. They may be the only female coach, period, on their campus. But there is a community to support them and to learn with and continue to help them in elevating their career and allowing them to become the best leader, role model, and mentor that they can be for the athletes that they lead.
It's fantastic that you have so many new members to your organization, but you could have so many more. And one of the challenges that I see, particularly when we offer our clinics, when I go speak at other organization events, is that it is just a very, very tiny percentage of the number of coaches out there working. And for various reasons, these coaches are not getting trained. And you said it, when they come in, there is that, wow, it's not just me. Wow, I learned from that person. Oh, I took this away. But getting them into the door, so to speak, has been challenging.
Yeah.
What have you seen as an effective way to get that coach to choose to get training, as opposed to maybe their organization incentivizing it or pushing them to do it? How do we change the motivation of coaches from, I don't feel like getting up on that Saturday morning and going to that clinic, to, no, I really want to go. I want to learn something.
Yeah. And I think some of that has to do with just how demanding the profession is. There's never a day off, it feels like, especially with, as the years have gone on, you're seeing every sport now is just about year round as it relates to, even if they're out of season, out of their traditional season, there's still trainings happening. At the youth and high school level, you go into club and travel seasons. It is nonstop year round now, where there's not a large window for coaches to just take them some time for themselves. And we educate about the coaches doing just that, really focusing on taking time from themselves, taking time away from the profession, but also taking time to pour and refill their cup so that they can be the best leader that they can be for their athletes. For us, we've found a lot of success just word of mouth. You have these coaches who, for example, come to our Women Coaches Academies annually, and they're going back to their campuses. They're going back to the coaches in their conferences and who are in their networks and saying, you've got to do this. It's some of the best professional development I've ever been a part of. Take 3 days out of your schedule to pour into you. But we also have really, what we've found, especially during trying times like we're going through, where there's significant budget cuts across just about every level of sports facing financial challenges, we've been trying to stay ahead of that trend by going out to our donors, going out to our partners and sponsors to ask for some financial assistance to help these coaches. And sadly, the reality, when there are budget cuts happening, one of the first things to go, Tim, is professional development, which you would think that would be a priority to keep in the budget and continue to fund for the coaches. But we're seeing that as financial challenges arise, sometimes the first thing to go out of the budget is professional development. And so we've tried to backfill that trend by having scholarship funding for coaches who do have financial need and are unable to otherwise access our programming without some financial assistance, because either their school, their conference, their district may not have the funding available. And so they're either facing the decision of paying out of pocket or not being able to participate due to the lack of funding. So we've really grown our scholarship funds, and we're very grateful to our donors and partners for helping us with that initiative. We've also are very proud to say we've kept our memberships very affordable. We pride ourselves on affordable access for these coaches to be able to have professional development and not have to pay significantly for that. But those are just some of the ways that we've been able to really generate and increase the engagement in our programming. That we're proud to continue to do those things as well.
In closing, I typically ask my guests to provide some thoughts for coaches, some advice for coaches. And based on your many experiences, both at the collegiate level in administration and now overseeing a large organization of women coaches, what advice do you have for coaches who may be getting into the profession or looking to just improve?
I would say this, we find that a lot of our coaches are lifelong learners. They're educators at heart. And we know that there's a saying out there that coaches have the opportunity to impact more lives in a single year than the average person does in a lifetime. And my advice is always to coaches is just to remind them of the impact that they make, remind them that we need them in this profession, that what they do matters. They're making a difference. They're helping to create lifelong leaders who are eventually going to go out into the world and lead in our society. And so we need them. What they do matters, and continue to thank and appreciate them for dedicating their lives to this critical profession of coaching.
Oh my gosh, my buttons there did not work the way they were supposed to.
That's okay.
Last question then. If somebody wants to reach out to you listening on the podcast or watching at a later point on our YouTube channel, what's the best way for them to reach out, learn more about WeCOACH, learn more about your experiences?
Sure. We would love I always love hearing from current or aspiring coaches or just anyone interested in the work that we're doing. So you're welcome to reach me on my email, vanessa@wecoachsports.org. Thank you for pulling that up. And we also, you also can get more information, not only on our social media platforms, but also our website, wecoachsports.org. But look forward to having you engage in our community.
Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me and sharing a little bit about WeCOACH and what you do. And I'm so thankful that you're in this position and seeing the growth of this organization over the last few years. It's fantastic. Just a reminder, everybody, we try to do these every couple of weeks. So be sure to subscribe, like, follow wherever you're watching or listening from. And also don't forget, coming up in Jacksonville next month, we have our FSU Coach Clinic. You can go to our website to learn more about that and register. And by the way, if you are a student, it's free of charge. So be sure to register for that. We want as many people coming to get as much coaching experience as possible. Should be a great event. That's a wrap for us. On behalf of myself, Tim Baggers, Vanessa Fuchs, thanks so much for watching.